We have no idea what we're doing today.
We're standing in the middle of an abandoned parking lot in Colorado, and we have no fucking plan here.
Why are we doing this?
We're doing this because we need to get on camera more, and we always make excuses to not make content for ourselves. But we're changing that.
Excuses don't win.
Exactly.
So whether we're in a parking garage, wherever we are, we decided we're going to do this and make time to do it, or we're not going to do it.
Even if we don't have a table and chairs and podcast stands, we're going to make it happen.
This is as raw as it gets.
Very raw.
We're raw dogging it.
Sorry, Grandma.
Oh, yeah, Grandma. But
all right.
What do you want to talk about today?
Well, maybe let's just tell people kind of like what we've been working on lately. I mean, we filmed University of Colorado, In-N-Out Burger, the Broadmoor Hotel, which we just learned about, but apparently it's a huge deal. One of the largest golf courses in the world. What else we got?
I just got to go back to the Broadmoor. I've been a lot of places in the world, and I was in shock. Like,
really?
You look at it from one view, and then we threw the drone up, and it's like whole nother world, you know?
Yeah, because Weston normally, he operates the drone for the most part, and I'm usually on the ground with the gimbal, as you see in all my pictures. So he got to see the up top, basically, and I was on the ground, and in Colorado, there's a lot of trees, a lot of tall buildings, so it's kind of hard to see everything. So when he showed me the pictures he shot, incredible.
It's just a button. It's the drone. It's not me. It's not the operator when it comes to the drone. The gimbal is 100% the operator.
Yeah, I'll disagree. I mean, I've seen a lot of shit drone footage and pictures before, so.
That is true.
Yeah, we know what to do these days.
I'm pretty ballsy with the drone. I mean, yeah, I've crashed.
God, 10, 20.
Many.
It's got to be 20 drones at this
Many
point.
drones. But
all sizes, all shapes and sizes.
I also like to do things a little extreme, if y'all don't know that.
But that's why we get the coolest footage. I mean, you might crash the drone, but we'll get some crazy shit.
Okay, well, there's a car going by, so stay tuned for some funny bloopers coming next. The cool thing about this project is Ludowici Tile. They're a 135-year company. They're on all those massive buildings. They're
LSU, Duke,
White House,
Vanderbilt.
TCU, yeah. It's crazy when you get to do like research projects, because like who thought tile would be cool? And then you get involved in this company, it's like, this is our coolest client.
And also it's like, when you get a new car, like say you get a red Camaro, like all you see is red Camaro. So like we're driving around all over the United States and we're like, there's Ludowici Tile. There's Ludowici Tile. There's Ludowici Tile. We're like tile whores, honestly, now.
Tile horse. Broadmoor and tile horse.
Hey,
all right.
I told you this is going to be raw.
This is going to be raw, and this is what we're about. So one thing that's pretty cool with what we do is we get challenged often. Example, we went and filmed In-N-Out, and it was surrounded in a jail cell. So
Fort Knox.
We can't even access this thing. So what do? We can't throw the drone up. It's in the middle of an air whatever it's called.
Right next to the Air Force Academy.
So we had 90 seconds to get the shot we needed. Somehow we got it. Drone comes down, almost lands on top of a parking garage, and we got part of the shot we needed that we flew all the way out to Colorado for.
Yeah, I mean, we traveled miles and miles and drove our car, and to not be able to throw the drone up and not get access to the facility, that was a hell of a challenge.
But we still got it done.
Always.
Chris, what do you think is the biggest challenge job we ever had?
Oh my gosh, it's hard to even remember all the jobs, honestly. What comes to your brain? I'll have to think about that for a sec.
Oh, shoot. I mean, when we had to sneak into the World Trade was very interesting.
Okay, yeah. We literally smuggled all of our camera equipment for like this massive event for Lone Star Capital. Shout out to Rob and Craig.
And Dasha, don't forget Dasha.
And Dasha, and the rest of the team. Honestly, everybody's great there. But we basically put all of our camera, broke them down into these tiny little carry-on luggages, and I don't know, it was like 4 or 5 different luggages. We had them roll them in there because we weren't allowed to bring our camera equipment in, and we had this massive event to film, which we only flew out there to do.
Yeah, that was intense, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to get the cameras in. So at that point, we were looking at iPhones, other options.
Yeah, which when you charge the amount of money that we charged, it doesn't do the job with iPhones.
I've been challenged many times. Actually, the first Ludowici Tile project I ever did was in Austin, and I crashed my drone, and I just had zero what's the word, social awareness back then, I guess. Maybe, I don't know.
Spatial awareness.
I don't know what happened. But not, and then I guess the word I'm looking for is like I had no fear because I needed to make this project work because it was such a big company, and I was like, if I mess this thing up and I don't get the footage, like I just ruined this massive opportunity. So I crashed this drone filming a property And I'm just like, this is during COVID, everybody's in mask, and I'm like, fuck it. I have no mask on, and I start sprinting up this apartment complex. Okay. Massive building, dude. And I'm getting screamed at by everybody, and then I basically get drug out of there, and like, it's about to be all these fines and all this shit. And then this guy was coming out of the building. I was like, hey, bro, I lost my drone. Like, it's up there. I can see it in the net. And it crashed, and he like went up there, and he got it for me. And I got the card that literally, now to this day, we're still shooting Ludowici, because if I didn't have that card, I wouldn't have been able to finish the project.
Yeah, or you had to go get a new drone and redo everything all over again.
I didn't have the money back then.
Yeah, the times were different back then. There was no drone insurance. There was no extra funds.
Scrapping.
Yeah.
Maybe we talk about scrapping. Maybe that's a good episode of like, if you're
I like it.
into entrepreneurship, into camera equipment, whatever it is, our goal now is to teach what we've learned, even though we're not experts at certain levels. We're experts in certain areas.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's pretty cool to be able to see the growth and see where we've gone. But like, when you first started, Chris, what was the biggest challenge when we started doing all this?
My biggest challenge personally was like confidence, right? Because I'd never had the level of confidence that I have now. And then stepping into something entirely new, like, imagine this, like, I talk about this all the time, I know, but like, I would go to work every single day and sit at my desk and not really talk to many people. You know, a few people down the hallway, coordinate a few things in the manufacturing facility. But for the most part, it was me and 3 screens all day. So for me to quit my job and step into, like, I'll never forget. Yeah, uncomfortable as hell. I mean, that first job we did for Sophia's 50th birthday, it was like this massive 3-night event. I mean, I can't imagine how much money they spent on it. But it was in their like $14 million mansion in Fort Lauderdale, Las Olas. And there were hundreds of people. And I think the parties went to like 3 or 4 a.m. every single night. So we're talking like 6-7 hours of filming. And I've never done anything like this ever. And so like having the confidence to go up to people and be inviting and smile and interact with them for hours on end and carry around this Ronin, which I was very out of shape back then. So I didn't have the arm strength and the stamina to do this. And so I remember going up to Weston, I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do this.
And I just laughed. I'm like, bro, you can do anything. You used to dominate 5 people on a football field with one arm. Like, you can carry a Ronin, bro. Like, you got this. Yeah. You know, but you would say that's probably your biggest challenge, was understanding, like.
My first big challenge,
well,
I guess.
What I was going to ask while you were saying that is, like, what is confidence to you, though? Because confidence is a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Like, what would you, if you could really define confidence, what is that for you?
I'd say confidence is just like having the ability to undeniably be yourself and put yourself out there and not worrying about what other people are going to think about it, right? Because when you think about the people you look up to the most, it's like they're entirely themselves, right? And they're, hopefully, right? In at least the way they put themselves out there, like, it seems natural and organic. And to me, that's what confidence is, because I struggled with that. I was constantly afraid of, like, I would say something stupid and like try to be funny, because like I'm not really the funny guy, but like everyone loves the funny guy, right? So I try to say something funny and then no one would laugh, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna shut up for the rest of the night.
I'm done.
You know, but it's like constantly just being yourself and not worrying about the reaction and the result, but just doing it because you enjoy it, right? I've always held myself back, and I'd say, you know, you always tell me for the first time ever I smiled at 26, and since then I feel like I've been more and more of myself, and I've felt better about just going throughout life and like interacting with people, meeting new people, hopping into new jobs, new challenges. Like, I'm more capable to do those things because I have the confidence of, like, I know I can crush anything, because everything that I've tried new, I feel like I've tried to dominate it, and in some areas I have, you know.
You've dominated them very fast, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people, you know, when I first started tying my shoes, man, I was frustrated, but now I tie my shoes with my eyes closed. It sounds so ridiculous, right? Just think about it.
But wires and cords, he doesn't know.
Yeah, no, don't mess with those. But when I think of confidence, and I go all the way back to when I was a kid, of tying my shoes. I know I'm relating this to shoes right now, but it's the same thing in life. Once you get some momentum and some reps in, it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah.
And then you take on another challenge. So like when I think of confidence, I think of repetition.
Yeah.
Right? And you got those reps in. And when we went to the first event in Las Olas, and we went to the next one, you're like, okay, Monument, I can start talking to some people. Like, I think I can do this, because I did it in very uncomfortable situations, rough waters, and I made them calm.
Yeah,
you absolutely did that, but you got the reps in, right?
Yeah.
So do you think people, like, when they're first starting, what's the best way to get those reps in?
I mean, it's in the quote that we live by. It's like, Don't let your comfort zone kill you, and put yourself out there in uncomfortable like situations, because those are areas that allow growth.
I'd say though is like a lot of people don't know what uncomfortable is, man. Like,
well, it's a feeling, right? So like if someone's like, hey, come to this networking event with me, there's gonna be 400 people, $220 billion in the room, there's gonna be jets, supercars, high level individuals, and you're talking to someone with a 9-to-5. That doesn't sound very comfortable to them, does it? Probably not.
Right.
I mean, maybe they're a socialite and they love to bounce around and meet new people, but for the most part, I'd say that's an uncomfortable situation. It's something entirely different from their day-to-day life that they're used to, and something they've never done before.
Right.
And so it's pretty obvious, like, if you don't want to do something, it's probably because you're uncomfortable doing it, even though you might be the one holding yourself back from doing something that you might love.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it's so cool to see you in your phase where you went from an introvert to learning how to be an extrovert.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not my diagnosis.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to buy into what the doctor said or what I've been told. Like, I have ADD or ADD, 70 Ds. I got all the Ds.
That's one of your gifts, though.
It is a gift, but I was told that it wasn't a gift.
Yeah, I hate that.
And when I studied books about different brain types and different people that I looked up to and realized, wait a minute, this person's ADD? Huh. Why isn't that showcased in school? Why isn't that showcased from your parents, your friends, your family? Sometimes those things are great.
Yeah.
If you learn how to use them.
I think that's something you should start speaking about more, honestly.
Like leaning into...
Well, it's like, you know, kids get diagnosed with ADHD at a young age, and they're told by their teachers that they don't learn the right way and they don't pay attention enough, and they can't focus and study. And it's like, maybe that's not what they need to do for the rest of their life. Not saying formal education isn't important, because it is, but at the same time, I don't think necessarily shoving a pill down your kid's throat is like always the best option.
I don't think it's an option that I would ever pick.
Yeah, I can
like,
agree.
I took a form of Adderall, and all it did was make me hyper-focused on something that I didn't want to be hyper-focused on.
Right.
Now, if you take the people that I know from the data you know, the people that I know that couldn't focus, it's because they weren't attracted to what they were focused on.
Exactly.
But if you give them something that they like to do or love to do, they will dominate it.
Like, for instance, you with a wakeboard, a boat, and a GoPro, you love that shit. I just remember like seeing your little videos that you made on your computer with like all these crazy color designs and stuff, from green to yellow to blue
those are gonna
to
go
pink. We got to throw those up somewhere in here, but you know, that's what you love to do, and like you didn't care, or you were able to hyper focus on that. But when it comes to like studying history or math, God forbid math, that's
I still can't do math.
Right, but look at where you are now. Some people that
Well,
were math whizzes,
that's where you learn yourself, right? Is like, I would say one of my strengths is common sense. Social awareness of people and communication is where I thrive.
you read people very well.
I can read people, but that doesn't mean I don't read them right. I always look for the positive things in them
Yeah.
and the potential in them, which also can be my Achilles heel.
How so?
When I study people, because you know I study people, not in a weird way, but I do study people very, very much in depth so that I can learn them and hear them and understand them.
Yeah.
When it comes to my Achilles of potential in people, I see something that most people probably don't see in themselves. Right? Like, when you told me you don't know if you could do this, I see 5-10 years of this day where I'm like, bro, I saw the vision way before you did. And I'm like, no, quit stressing, dude. Like, you're right on the path you need to be on. And I see that from the beginning when I meet people. As long as they put the effort and time in, I know what they can be. And I can lean into that and I can support that. The problem is I'm pushy. I'm hard on people, right? Because I want the best for them.
Yeah.
And it might not be their best. That's the problem.
Yeah. You're afraid of pushing them in the wrong direction?
Well, I can push too hard, right? For me, I've been pushed really hard and I've seen the result of it, but it was in a different direction.
Yeah.
What if I pushed somebody in a positive direction and kept encouraging them and kept pushing them in that light that they're supposed to shine their gift with? I think that's how you can change the world.
100%. I mean, it's people interacting with other people. That's how growth happens, right? You can't do anything on your own. I mean, it requires someone else, whether it be a coach, teacher, friend, family member. Everyone needs some sort of support and encouragement along the way, because if you try to do it yourself, you're going to get burnt out.
This is the thing that I think's cool. Here's the Achilles heel part. I can believe in you and I can push you, but you got to be able to not get defensive.
True.
And some people are emotionally intelligent enough to be able to handle criticism, positive reinforcement, encouragement, sorry, and some people can't.
Yeah. Accountability, really.
Right, and it's going, hey, can I look in the mirror and am I wrong or am I right? And a lot of times when somebody tells you something and you get defensive, it's because there's this little tiny thing in there that's actually true.
Yeah, and I'll say you do a really good job of like framing conversations and those tough conversations pretty well, of not necessarily like honing down on them, like you're not doing this, but it's like, hey, I see you just being a really great in this area. Why are you not like moving in that direction? Why are you not?
It bothers me, and it's my Achilles heel.
I think it's a gift. I really do. But I have a counter question. Like, do you feel the same way about yourself? Like when you were starting out, like, did you always believe that you could be this like incredible human in what you do?
I'm about to be real vulnerable. I thought of this on my hike yesterday, Chris.
Okay.
Where does my drive actually come from?
Where does it come from?
Now, this is a question everybody should ask themselves. Mine hit pretty deep the other day when I was walking down that from the hike. I was like, what the fuck is my drive? Was it the fear of my dad? Was it the fear of this? And it was actually the fear of someone being better than me. And in every freaking lane possible, because Chris, you know me, I'm good at a lot of things. Yeah. Sports, certain things, like I'm not bad at anything, realistically, besides chords and fucking technology.
Yeah.
Like, but when it comes to sports, like I'm pretty athletic on all boards, right?
Unless you got corns.
Yeah. And hey, I can still play ping pong with those probably. That's a fact.
Yeah.
But it comes to the fact, is this person better than me? Is this person going to make this person more happy than I made them? That bothers the shit out of me. So what it does is it fuels me to become better than the people around me because I'm afraid of not being enough or validated from those people that I am.
You think that's toxic or that's helpful?
I think it's some inner work that I need to handle, because you have to let people be people, and I got to let myself be human.
Yeah, because do you think that's a form of insecurity in a sense?
Yeah, it's definitely a form of insecurity, and I've accepted a lot of my insecurities. That's why I'm talking about it now. It's like, okay, well, how do I handle the drive? And also, is it a bad thing or is it a good thing, right? It goes back and forth in my head, right? If you look at Kobe Bryant, was it a bad thing or a good thing that he practiced 3 times a day?
Just depends on what you're going for.
Right? If he wanted to be great, it was good. If he needed to be a family man, it was bad.
Exactly.
Right? So there's sacrifices depending on where you want to go with that, because his drive was to be the best. It wasn't, I want to be good at basketball. I want to be the best at basketball, right? So what fear in the back of his head was Michael Jordan or the person in front of him. No matter who it was across the table, he wanted to know that 1% of things, whether it was coaching. Like, I don't know if you know the story of him. He was watching film because he couldn't figure out Steph Curry. You know this story?
No.
He couldn't figure out how to guard him. He finally called somebody at like 3 a.m. in the morning. He's like, bro, I figured out how to stop Steph Curry. He's like, dude, what are you talking about? It's 3 a.m. in the morning. He's like, you have to sneak up on the left and actually come from behind him because it makes him uncomfortable when somebody's behind him, not in front of him.
Interesting.
And he studied the court, bro, and like that 1% of things. And then you started watching people guard him from behind because it makes him anxious that someone's going to block him from behind so he doesn't think about a shot. He's been trained his whole fucking career that someone has a hand in my face. What if nobody's in front of him and they know somebody's behind him?
Yeah, he thinks outside the box for sure.
That's the thing that makes people great.
Yeah.
Outside that box of going, wait a minute, I'm going to think differently of how I can be better than this person. And yeah, that might be toxic, but it also makes people great.
Yeah, I think that's also why like we're kind of able to help so many people in our network and our close friends with difficult situations and decisions to make, because we can help them come outside of this box that they put themselves in their frame of mind, to really think from an outside perspective and like, maybe this isn't the only solution. Or like someone, brought me a big offer. It's like maybe they're coming to me because I'm so valuable in something that I haven't seen myself yet. And
where do you think people get put in the box? Why do you think people limit themselves?
I think it's like human nature.
Why did you limit yourself?
Fear of failure.
What does fear of failure mean?
Fear of failure is, it's pretty descriptive in the name, but it's essentially like...
What does it mean to Chris?
It's not trying something because you're afraid you'll fail.
And is it because people see you fail? Is it because you yourself are failing? Is it what actually is the reason people put themselves in a box? Because my brain obsesses over that thought. Why did I put myself here in the first place?
I think people essentially feel stuck. And like, I was only 2.5 years into my job, but I started to feel that way too. You get settled, you start to gain some weight, you start to gain more financial responsibilities, other responsibilities, and then you feel like you've dug yourself in a hole. And like for some people that have been there for 20, 30 years, you feel like there's no way to get out because you're so far down. And I think it's just that defeating feeling in your brain of like, you see everyone where they're at, of happy people, successful, financially stable, good families, good friends. And if you're not there, it can be pretty daunting, and like it might not even seem possible because you haven't had the right people around you to build you up. Everyone's just been tearing you down.
That's where, when I think of a box, right, and I think about your life, your career, your sports, everything, who put you in the box?
Myself.
I don't agree.
I mean, I had support.
Yeah, but you always worked hard.
Yeah.
But you were told from all of these people what you should do.
I wasn't questioned, right?
Well, that's what I love to do, right? I've always questioned you.
Yeah.
But when I think back on why I was in the box, it's because everybody put me in the box. It wasn't that dude, I would say these crazy ideas and people would look at me like I had 6 fingers.
I know, I remember that. And now people are like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but like I can't understand why I let myself believe what other people were telling me I should be.
I mean, it's hard if that's all you hear, right?
That's what I'm saying.
That's a stupid idea, especially from the people that mean the most to you.
But that's what I'm getting at, is like, when do people get in the box? It's because all the faces of the box are those people around you that are shaping you.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally putting a box in. You're the box.
Yeah.
They're telling you what you should do, how you should do it. And that's where I think people need to kick the wall down. And it's really hard to do that.
Yeah, it's tough.
You know, but
tough.
How would you say you can help people kick that door down?
I'd say just quit listening, like close your ears and just think. Just be by yourself. Go to a quiet place, or like an oceanside, nature, something. Turn your phone off and just be by yourself and just ask yourself, am I happy? Okay, no. If I'm not happy, why am I not happy? What does make me happy? What fulfills me? And then do more of that. And then find a way to build a business or make money around doing that, whether it be a job, your own business, or just like a hobby, right? Because you could be loving what you do every day, but it's taking up all your time and it's not fulfilling you. We talk about that all the time.
I mean, I think of a good friend of mine, a good friend of yours, I'm not going to mention his name, but he loves video production. He loves editing. He loves shooting. But then he still asks that question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Well, am I happy? And then as you said that, like, what makes you happy? Are you doing these things? He's not around the right people, even though he still loves what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You got to be around the right people in order to actually kick that wall down.
Yeah, I mean, you got to clean house sometimes. And I've been there before. And, you know, I grew up with some really close friends for sure. But I had to, like, step away from some of them to really figure out who I was, because I felt like I couldn't go to any sort of social outing without drinking. And not just drinking, but being hammered, right? Because I was in my shell. I was an introvert. And so that is what allowed me to be more out there and not care so much about the things that I said. And so that's really how I felt going into college. And then I got around a good group of people who just wanted to spend time with me because they loved me without me being fucked up. And I realized what true friendship was, and I was able to explore myself. I was able to fall in love with nature, go on hikes, backpacking. You know, there's so many other things that I got to try in college just because I got around a good group of people. Yeah. You know, and that's so important, because I forget the quote, but it's like, who you surround yourself with is who you'll eventually become long term.
I know, and that's one question that's been so interesting for me, because I didn't drink and I was around it. I think when I really helped, part of my identity was once I got like clarification and acceptance that I didn't drink, I didn't care whether I danced like an idiot. Mm-hmm. I didn't care, you know, I cared what I wore. That's one thing I did care about, right? Because I didn't want to look like a doofus. Shout out Ewan. But that was the one thing I cared about, was my image. But I didn't care about what people thought of me in the aspect of drinking or being me, because they accepted me for that person. Like, they actually they were proud, like, oh, this is our good friend that actually doesn't drink. Like, that was what they were introducing me as.
Everyone loves to say that, yeah.
Yeah, like, this is my sober friend, dude. He's been sober for his whole life. Like,
they're like, wait, he's not like hammered right now, dancing on the table?
Yeah, like, he's the life of the party. That was cool, being able to be accepted for that, and that kind of showed me a value where I can be myself in certain places.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't myself in certain areas of like women, right? I wanted to be the cool, attractive guy that was shredded and modeling and all that stupid shit, right? Because you have an image and an ego, and that was what stroked it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, well, that validates it.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through these phases, and you start learning yourself more and more and more, and then you realize, wait a minute, I don't like who I'm becoming, and you step out of that. And the way to step out of it, to me personally, is getting out of the people, right? People are evil in a lot of ways. Like I've said that before. I don't know if you've ever heard me say that, but if you're not around the right people, like they are going to drain you and make you miserable.
I mean, yeah, that's where I had to learn that lesson this past year. Essentially, is like I was never. I mean, you know me for a long time. I'm never one to really just go engage with a ton of people because it drains me. By the end of it, I'm just like, you know, I need 2 days to recover in my little hub in my room. But it's like I learned, especially, you know, earlier in Mexico, is like if I give my energy and pour into people that will receive it and also like kind of give it back, is like I'm fulfilled. I'm not worn out the next day. I can go out there and do it again because like I'm putting my energy in the right areas. If I put my energy into someone that doesn't align with me and my morals and values and life in general, it's like I get drained really fast from that. And you've seen it.
They usually take from you, right?
Yeah.
Chris is an extremely smart human being, if y'all don't know. Probably number 1 or 2 on logic scale. If you have a problem, go to Chris, because Chris will calculate in his head in like 30 minutes.
It's a blessing and a curse.
It is. No, it's great. But people can take advantage of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they don't see the value and how much work and how much experience you've had to go through in order to be able to do that. Yeah. It's very simple, right? To people, but it's actually really complex.
Yeah. And to that, you know, I'm a realist just naturally. And I think it comes from, I mean, I won't talk shit about my father, rest in peace, but, you know, he was a very negative human. And that rubbed off on me quite a bit. And I think that has a lot to do with the way that I think these days. It's not necessarily negative, but it's protective in guarding myself of, you know, my energy, my relationships and everything all combined. And that essentially kind of makes me a realist and enhances my logic. You know, like I always look at everything from an outside perspective versus like personal and emotional, because I know how dangerous that can get.
Right.
I've seen it.
Do you manage your relationships like you don't constantly talk to people by any means, right?
No, a little bit more now than I used to.
Do the people around you understand that?
I feel like they do, because they don't see me out there all the time, and they know that I won't always necessarily call them, but if they call me, I'll pick up, and if I don't, then I'll call them back, or if they shoot me a text, I'll always respond. So I think, you know, my close friends really understand me in a broad sense. My relationships in general that I've made connections with, I don't think they always understand that. So I don't talk about it much, you know?
Well, and then you're in your entrepreneur journey, right? How many friends, we have a lot now that are probably entrepreneurs, but a lot of our friends that aren't entrepreneurs, they don't really understand.
Yeah, they don't understand it. It's hard to relate. And, you know, I still love those guys that I grew up with, but it's hard because we're in different stages of life, and they want to go grab a beer, and like, that hasn't been a thought in my brain for a long time. You know, like,
we're motivated by different things, right?
Let's go work out. Let's go on a walk. Like, let's go talk business. Let's talk about life, what you want to do in the future. Like that, those are the things that I'm interested in, and those are the people that I want to surround myself with.
Do you think you'll ever regret when you're older that you worked too hard?
No, never. But I will say, if I let it, like, because one of the most important things is, like, you know, to have a family and be a great father, right? I won't say my father was a bad dad. He loved me. He was, you know, he had unconditional love for me and my brother, but like I had a perfect example of how I didn't want to be,
right?
And the father I didn't want to be, and the husband I didn't want to be. And I am just so obsessed with not becoming that I want to be the best family man that I can, because I know that's what I'm going to be thinking about when I'm on my deathbed. If I'm working super hard at something that doesn't fulfill me just to make me money, I will regret that. If I'm working super hard at something and doing it with my best friend and, you know, keeping in mind the most important things in my life along the process, I'll never regret working as hard as I do.
It's a good way to look at that, actually. I'm glad you responded. You opened my brain on that one big time.
That's funny because we talk about this all the time.
Yeah, but you never worded it like that.
Yeah, it's fair. To put a podcast.
You know, if you think about laying on your deathbed, what's the one question you ask yourself? That shit fucked me up.
Did you live? Did you try?
Well, did I live? But
did you try?
Depends on what you're wanting, right? But then you're saying, well, your family's not not worried about how much money you have. They're worried about what you gave for them and did for them. So if you spend a lot of time working or a lot of time building a business, but it was for your kids and they understand that, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's like it's leaving a legacy, which is what we talk to our clients a lot about, and I always, it might be morbid, but when I quit my job, it was because I was thinking about in the future when I'm sitting on my deathbed. It's like, if I sat here in this job for years in a comfortable space and made enough money to support a family and live somewhat, fun, whatever, I would be upset that I didn't try something, because I knew I was meant for more. Like sitting at that desk every single day, I knew I was meant for more. I didn't know what it was at the time.
Do you always crave more?
Yeah, I do, right? I always crave something new, like a new challenge. You always say, like, in order to get me to do anything, you just have to challenge me, and that's true. It doesn't matter how like small or big it is.
You can do a backflip and a handstand at the same time?
I'll fucking learn that shit in the next year and a half, and I'll get it done, right?
This is facts.
It's like I randomly became a yoga teacher last year. Like, why? Because it was a new challenge. It was something that I wanted to learn. I love to do. I saw the benefits, and I wanted to share it with other people and be knowledgeable about it. And so I took on that challenge,
Well, now you became an expert in a way, right? I think it opened a whole nother battle for you where you decided, wait a minute, I don't have a ball and chain in my foot anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I saw, right? It's like, I don't have to be big guy anymore. I don't have to live this way. I'm going to stay really disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to be the old Chris.
Yeah.
From yesterday, right?
Yeah,
like,
it was always like this.
Well, just in general, like, I think people are so fixated on like, oh, well, I'm this way. It's like, no, stop. Whoever told you that, don't listen to them.
Yeah.
If I want to change something tomorrow, I can.
Yeah.
I actually can.
Yeah.
So when you did yoga, love this word, but limitless, we're busy as shit that time.
Oh yeah, God.
We are busy as shit.
Yeah.
And Chris still got his yoga certification.
And this
so
was
he pushed his boundary, he expanded, and expansion creates growth. And that's when you feel fulfillment, is because, man, I grinded.
Yeah.
And I found my way out of the trenches. Like,
yeah.
That's the moment.
Well, like, and that was another like area of my life. So like I proved that I could go from being an employee to an entrepreneur at that point, but I hadn't really stepped into a new challenge. And so what that really proved to me is like, I can take on anything I want to and accomplish it as long as I'm diligent, persistent, and consistent.
That's a secret code. That's a secret sauce.
I mean, like, it just opened up my eyes, like you said, to like anything I want to do in life, I can do it. You told that as a kid to certain people.
Well,
it's hard to believe.
Well, it is and it isn't. I had this conversation with a lady on the airport for 3 hours. Amazing person. And there's a certain thing that I've figured out. There's an age gap. Usually, everybody's family is probably different, but from 1-year-old to 12 years old, you're kind of told that you can do anything. And as soon as you get to 13, oh, wait a minute, that's dangerous. Wait a minute, I don't know if that's a good solution. Like, you start getting more logical, and the people around you that aren't really doing anything with their life, realistically, that's kind of savage, but I'm okay with it, they start telling you can't do anything. So from 13 to realistically forever at that point, you don't have hope, you don't have belief, and nobody around you is telling you that you can do something anymore.
Yeah.
If you were told as a kid that you could continue to be an astronaut until you're 37, and like that was the way that you were brought up, like, you would conquer the world.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine my life if I had it that way.
No.
I don't know if there's two ways, right? I would have taken the easy road, or it would have drove me 10x what I'm at now.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, we'll never know, obviously, but I think it can go both ways. Like, just that positive reinforcement constantly can be good, but like some of the negativity is what makes you strong, and to build that armor to really go through real life. Like,
I had that.
Yeah, like if you're constantly told positive reinforcements, then you get into the real world and people are telling you suck. You can never do this. Like, you can't do this. You can't do that. It's like, you don't really know how to take on those challenges because you've never dealt with it before.
Right. And that's the thing, is if you're around the right people, if you had an easy life growing up, but you're around the right people with the right morals and the right values, they can teach you ways to be a good human being and make money.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody we know that made money and making lots of money was from pain.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that didn't make money from pain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, along the process brings a lot of pain and failure. It does.
Like, who can you think of our clients that made a lot of money that didn't come from pain?
I don't know anyone.
I can't think of it.
There's always like 10 stories that they have of challenges they've overcome and just really shitty situations. I mean, we have one friend going through it right now. I mean, I can imagine his headspace. We won't speak names, obviously, but it's just like, it's tough. Like, and it's hard to know how to support them at times because you've never been there before. But sometimes just being there and keeping that open line of communication is all they need.
Well, and that's the other thing we talked about yesterday or today. One of the two is stepping out of the chaos, right? And being able to ask somebody that's not in the chaos, hey, man, what do you think would be good for me? Like, what do you see?
Yeah.
Right? And let somebody have another perspective of life, business, financials, because they might have a little bit of an experience of 1% of something that actually could make the whole business deal or the whole relationship go completely better.
Yeah. You can't be defensive, though.
Right, like in a relationship, right? Like if I go ask Chris for advice, Chris is going to be calm and unbiased. I can talk to Chris openly and let him actually not be in chaos.
Yeah.
And give me not emotional advice.
Right. Or be a yes man.
Yeah, or be a yes man. And
Yeah.
and that's something that's so rare. And in business too is like if you're having something you're going through business, well, as creatives, what we do best is extract all this other stuff that you probably haven't thought of.
Yeah.
And then give it back to you right in front of your face.
And they're like, whoa.
Right. And so that's, that's where we're going now is like, I want to talk a little bit, Chris, about the circle of where we're moving with XV Life, XV Productions, XV Studios, XV Podcast. Like, what is the direction? Because I'm sure everybody at this point is pretty confused.
I mean, in a long term, it's everything, right? And it's not everything all at once.
Like, where are we right now? What are we doing?
Right now, I'd say we're still heavy in production. We're doing a lot of jobs. We're making a lot of new connections. And, we get a lot of fulfillment from that. But we're shifting to strategy, right? There's one thing that we've done with every client in the past 3 years that we've just realized in the past few months is like we help them build their brand entirely. They come to us for a video and then we consult them on how to market their entire business and have an outside perspective on how to do it. And they have these breakthrough moments on the calls of like, wow, I never thought about that. That's a good idea. And that's also what helps us expand our business and get more jobs with these people who become consistent clients is because, well, if they do different marketing, they obviously need the content to do that. Well, that's when our production company comes in. But we're stepping into, being more strategy experts and branding experts versus just doing production and having that as like a free offer. Right. And it's not that we're being stingy in a sense. It's just we're realizing what we're really good at and what we love to do. And that's a huge part of it. That fulfillment of hopping on a website and seeing that all of the stuff that we've shot and all the stuff that we've consulted them on to maybe tweak is like happened and it's on there and it's performing well is like, that's where we get our fulfillment, And when we've had these, what do we want to call them? War room sessions with a few of our clients recently. I mean, the first one we had, you looked at me and asked me like, how do we feel? And I was like, I love this. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And the client is also feeling the same way. I mean, they're just in disbelief of all these things, whether they're 30, 40, 50 years old, we're giving them advice and they're multi-millionaires and they've grown successful businesses and have families and they're taking advice from us and we're 28 and 30 years old and we're not at near the level they are in terms of like financial and business success. And that's just kind of mind-blowing to me.
That is mind-blowing.
And when I think back to 4 years ago when I was sitting at a desk with my 3 screens, it's like I never would have thought that would be my life or our life. I mean, you probably never even thought it would be like that.
No, that's one thing I don't think I ever really visioned, building brands and creative brands was just part of production. It wasn't a separate thing.
Yeah.
We weren't told that's a separate thing.
Yeah.
But also, like, when I first started, I did video, I did editing, I did photos, I did audio. I just thought that's what everybody did.
Yeah, yeah.
And the only way that I could get a job was to sell the story.
Mm-hmm.
Sell the sizzle, right? And so naturally we've developed these things where my life has changed. Al Herrera asked me one day what my mission was, and I couldn't answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
That day did change my life.
Yeah.
Because I realized identity, I realized gifts, I realized mission, I realized fulfillment, and I knew that if I lacked this, everybody lacks it. Because I overthink and I overquestion everything.
Maybe not everybody, but the majority at least, right? There's only been one person, shout out to Ryan Boswell, who has answered this question in under 3 seconds.
But he's still like forming his identity,
True.
his mission. He doesn't have his career path of what he's going to do yet, right?
No.
But he's actually coming down to a war room.
He is.
Why is he doing a war room? Because he needs to get everything out in his brain on paper to build a strategy to make it work, right? Example, cool, I love planes. Doesn't mean I'm going to know how to build one, right?
True. True.
Right, so to make a plane, somebody has to go in and strategically plan. Chris knows this more than anyone. Of building planes and operation and plans and codes and screws and metal and windows and all this stuff to make something work.
Yeah.
Right?
Fly.
Make it actually happen.
Yeah.
So when we actually present, and we like to use this analogy, as like most people are a book with no cover. People really don't know who they are, and they couldn't draw themselves on the book if they tried.
Yeah.
But we could, because we've been around so many people, we've seen so many different things and different perspectives that we can read people really well and ask the right questions for them to have their own aha moment.
Yeah.
That's what I think the war room is. The war room is a space for people to allow themselves to feel creative and literally lean into why they're going to be great.
Yeah.
Right? That's the value that I think we bring. And I think our extra sauce, everybody can click a record button. Everybody can hit it. But a lot of people can't pull things out of people.
Yeah.
That is a hidden gift that we think we have, and that's why we're offering a war room.
And we're going to do it for ourselves too, because it's like, the chef that always goes and eats fast food, he never cooks for himself. Like, we haven't put very much marketing content out there, and we haven't done the things that we help so many people with, and we're going to do that shit now.
Yeah, it's happening. And then, with the studio, the big vision of, Rob Deerdick, right? My brain's just always thought like Rob Deerdick, but seeing things come to life with the studio, seeing the space rental, right? We're getting into the development of podcast subscriptions, people coming through, having an exclusive branding community where you have to access this and it's exclusive only. Like, we want to build that.
Absolutely.
And then we build the podcast area, we build the shooting area, and we help people build their brand, but the goal is to build 20,000 square feet next door with a basketball court, saunas, cold plunges, a full recovery center where people can come feel alive and not feel like they're existing anymore. Yeah. We want to have an experience where, man, I left there and I'm a whole nother person, and I'm coming back in 3 months because I need to keep developing and keep redefining who I am, and hopefully, we can help them do that.
And, not just motivation either. It's an action plan, and it's follow-up, and it's keeping them accountable. Like, so many events we filmed, we go to them and you see someone get up there with a lot of energy and pump the crowd up, and then it's over and they leave and they take nothing with them.
They go back to 8 a.m. back in their cubicle, right?
We're not doing that.
That is not our goal. Our goal is to impact people to have a fulfilled life combined with success, if that means financial success or whatever that actually looks like, right? That's dirty water.
Yeah.
I'm not jumping in the ocean if I can't see my feet.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Right? I love sharks, but I don't like them enough to take my toes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the water's clear, I'm going to get in it. So I think as long as people understand that there's no gray when it comes to your identity, if you have no gray, I have no stress. I have a clear vision of where I'm going, when I'm going to be there, because I have a plan. I have people around me that are holding me accountable, and I'm not exiting my highway.
Yeah. You just get clarity. I think that's the biggest word.
Yeah.
Clarity.
So
with that, stay tuned.
This is the Garage Pod.
The Garage Pod.
Garage Pod. Stay tuned.
Parking Lot Pod might be a new segment.
Parking Lot Pod on our road trips. This is great.